As time goes on, we're seeing an increased number of brands creating nail polishes using magnetic pigments, but we've never dug in too deep to figure out what exactly can we do with those. Today we'll be going over different application methods, different types of pigments and how they can sort of settle and change over time, but most importantly, we're learning all about magnetic nail polish. I'm very excited because today's video is the first in an expansive new series titled All About, where we will deep dive into all things nail polish. We'll talk about pigments, techniques, do some tutorials, and go over manicure best practices. We have seen hundreds of magnetic nail polishes with all sorts of different glitters and types of magnetic pigment and special effects pigments, so today we are going to go over just a few of those in this video, but you'll get to kind of see the wide range of magnetic polishes and how using the magnet in different ways can really affect the look of the exact same polish. Make sure you save or bookmark this video so you always have it as a resource to rely on when you go to do a magnetic manicure, and it will also be housed on my page in a new playlist called All About. I do want to quickly point out that in today's video we're only going over sort of standard lacquer magnetic polishes as opposed to gel polishes that have magnetic pigments, and there is quite a bit of a difference in regards to that, and in the future we will do a video on those, but the main difference I would say is the fact that gel polishes require a UV light to cure, so you really have unlimited time to use your magnet and play around with the pigment on your nail before you set that design in and cure it. Okay, let's quickly look at the magnetic wand that we're going to be using in this video today, and then we'll get on to different methods and polishes and all the good stuff. So this is your standard magnetic wand that you'll be using with magnetic nail polishes, and I would say 9 times out of 10, the brand that you're getting the polish from will either have these for sale, or sometimes they include a free one when you buy a magnetic nail polish. You can see I've accumulated quite a few from different brands that we'll be looking at later in this video, but they're all the same thing in the sense that one end has this sort of long rectangular bar magnet, and then on the other end we have this small circular magnet. And in this video we will look at ways that you can use each end of the wand to create different manicures. First up, we will look at 6 methods of application using the same polish so you can sort of see the differences in the manicures that you can create, and then we will jump into looking at different types of magnetic polishes. Starting out with one of the more common designs, we'll look at the cat eye method, and we're actually going to go over a few application methods at once with this cat eye effect. So the preferred way that I like to use magnetic polishes is to build up full coverage of the polish in the first 2 coats, and then on the third coat you go in with a little bit more polish than usual, and then you hold that magnet over the nail for 30 seconds while the polish is still wet, and you can see how that brings all of those magnetic pigments right to where you held the magnet, and that is how we create our design. The second method is to actually rest your finger on top of the magnet. So you'll do your first 2 coats like normal, build up that coverage, and then for your magnetic coat, you're actually just going to rest your finger right on top of the magnet. So line it up where you want it, paint that third coat as normal. I usually let it sit for 10 to 15 seconds still, and then you have done your cat eye look using that method. And we will sort of look at how this can create a different effect in just a moment. Now we will look at 2 more methods that are similar to the last 2 but do have their own sort of twist on them. So this one here is doing the magnet above the nail, but instead of doing it on the final coat, we're doing it on every single coat. So you'll see each layer we're painting on, we are immediately holding that magnet for 30 seconds, and as you build up the polish, it does get a different effect, and you'll kind of see that even more clearly when we see this design right next to the other nails that we have looked at so far in this video. And then of course you can kind of play on that same method of doing the magnet under the nail, but instead of that final coat, only you're going to do it for every single coat. So you can see we're just going to build it up, we're resting our finger right on that magnet, but something to keep in mind while doing either of these 2 methods is that you're holding the magnet for 30 seconds on 5 fingers with 3 coats on each finger, so that can definitely sort of extend out your manicure time. As promised, we're looking at all 4 of those methods, so you can see in the every coat nails, we do sort of get a darker area around the magnetic line, whereas when we only do the magnet with the final coat, you still get some of that pigment underneath the spots on the nail that had the pigment like sucked away from them. The next method we are going to go over is the crystal effect, and this one is accomplished by holding the magnetic wand face down on either side of the nail, sort of in a back and forth motion like you can see here on the screen. And what that does is moves the pigments back and forth in a way that then create this almost three-dimensional look. And when you wiggle the nail around, you'll get to see a lot of depth by doing it in this way. And in general, I think this is maybe one of the cooler effects that you can accomplish with a magnetic polish. Another method is the velvet nail. So the way I like to accomplish this look is by applying my magnetic polish and then sort of waving the wand continuously back and forth over the nail for about 30 seconds or until you kind of stop seeing the pigment actively moving around on the nail. And I like that this effect sort of gives a little bit more variation and sort of looks almost fuzzy or furry as you wiggle the nail around, and it's just really cool and unique. And I feel like this is one of those methods that in person it looks a little bit more special than can be captured on camera, so that is also something to keep in mind. Branching out into the round end of our magnet, we will try out the French tip effect. So this one is pretty simple. You're going to apply your polish as normal, and then from the top or sort of cuticle end of the nail, you're going to come in with that round end of the magnet and sort of push all of those pigments forward and bring them down to the tip of the nail. So what that's going to do is bunch up all of that pigment, and then you get this sort of deep black hole look on most of the nail, but down at the tip you get all of that magnetic pigment, and in certain angles of the light it just lights up and shines. I feel like this one's a really cool effect that personally I don't do often enough, but definitely one for the books. Another way that you can use the circular end is the S-curve, or kind of a curved cat eye look. And this one, again, is pretty simple. You're going to paint on your magnetic nail polish, and then you will hover the round end of the magnet in one corner of the nail, and then removing that and putting it over in the opposite corner. So we did the top right, and then we're doing the bottom left of the nail, and just do that back and forth a couple of times to set that pigment into place. And once we're done with that, you'll see that this creates a similar design to the cat eye effect, but it has this sort of twisted ribbon look. You can see the S sort of across the nail as you do wiggle it around, and this is just a nice way to give some more depth to a manicure, but it's still a really simple look to accomplish. The final method we'll go over in this video is the rounded velvet effect. So this one sort of looks like the velvet nail, like the crystal nail, but almost like you mashed them up. So we will apply our nail polish. While it's still wet, we're going to take the round end of that magnet and just gently wiggle it up and down on one side of the nail. And you're only going to do that on the one side of the nail. And what that does is creates this sort of curved, crystally look, like there's almost a moon shape in the three-dimensional part of the nail. It's very cool and unique and simple to create, so another awesome way to use your magnetic nail polish. Of course, these are just some of the ways that you can apply magnetic nail polish, but really you can do whatever you want with that polish and magnetic wand. So I recommend trying out different designs, try out different polishes with different methods, and just have fun and see what you can come up with, because seriously, the possibilities are unlimited. Something else I do want to mention is that throughout this video, you're seeing all of these polishes for the most part freshly applied, but behind the scenes and when you're actually wearing magnetic nail polish, you will sort of start to see that design settle a little bit. So as you wear that manicure, it does finish like drying and the pigments do settle out a little bit. So now we're going to look at a fresh magnetic manicure, and then we're going to look at it the next day and see how that can sort of change over time. So this is a manicure I just finished up. We just did our magnet, our top coat. Everything is looking nice and beautiful and glossy. Then one sleep later, we have woken up to some dry cuticles, so we're quickly going to oil up. You can use my affiliate code with shopnbm color 10 to save 10% off your order. I will also put a link down in the description so you can shop through that as well. But once we have oiled up, you can see we're still getting a really strong magnetic effect. You're getting that cat eye look, but it has spread out a little bit. And this is something personally I'm not upset by. I think it adds to some of the depth and dimension of a magnetic nail polish, but that is always something to keep in mind when you're using a regular lacquer magnetic polish. Paired along with this is the fact that you also want to use the magnet when you do your top coat layer. So whatever method you did for your magnetic layer, you're going to do that same thing once you apply your top coat right away while it's still wet. That is going to help that design really set in place and minimize some of that spreading that can happen. So now let's look at two nails, one doing the magnet with the top coat and then one just doing top coat as normal. So up first, we are putting our top coat on this manicure. This was done doing 2 coats to reach opacity, and then we magnetized the third and final coat of the polish. So we put on the top coat, we grabbed our magnet, held that. I usually do 45 seconds when it comes to the top coat layer, just to let that sort of really set in and start to dry. And then on this other nail, also freshly painted, we will do the top coat and then no magnet. So now let's see, about 2 hours later, how has that affected the look of these nails? So on the left with the magnet, you can see we're still getting a pretty crisp line that has spread out a little bit, but we're still getting a strong cat eye effect from the nail. On the other one where we didn't do the magnet after the top coat, you can see that the design has really spread out and it does still have that effect, but there is a lot more sort of variation in what the nail looks like. One more note on top coat, I would recommend using a quick dry top coat, but maybe not your quickest drying top coat. And the reason for that is I have found that with super fast drying top coats, you almost don't have enough time to put it on and then grab your magnet and do that last final magnetized coat. It sort of starts to dry and sets those pigments in place already spread out. So if you're looking for a really crisp design, I recommend a quick dry, but not the quickest dry top coat. I've also found that using the same brand top coat as the magnetic polish that you're using, if they have one available, also has some pretty positive results. I feel like the way that the formula of the polish plays with the formula of the corresponding top coat seems to just work really well together, and they seem to dry better and keep that magnetic pattern a little bit more. Now, as we start to look at different types of magnetic polishes, we are going to use the cat eye method as the sort of control. That way you can see how all these different polishes are going to look when applied using the same magnetic method. We've really only seen a silver magnetic pigment in this video so far, but there are so many varieties, and I think it's time that we look at some. First up, we have a few other examples of silver magnetic pigments in different colored bases, so you can see how changing the color of a polish itself can really create a different effect on the nail. Next up is a silver magnetic pigment, but with an added holographic sparkle, so you can see once that pigment is magnetized, you get left with this glitter floating around on the rest of the nail, and I really like the finished look of polishes like this one. I don't have many shades like this one here, but you can see a polish where the magnetic pigment is actually gold, but it doesn't have any sort of duochrome or color changing effect, so as you move your nails around, this one just has that really cool golden sparkle. Another cool take on magnetic polishes is when the magnetic pigment itself has a duochrome or color shifting effect. So for these ones, you can see there's multiple colors going on the nail, and as you shift it in different directions, you're getting not only the 3D magnetic effect, but also a chameleon color shift, which is probably one of my favorite types of magnetics. Then of course you have the magnetics with the multichrome pigment, but like the last one we saw had holographic glitter. This one has iridescent flakies, so So once you center that magnetic line, you let these other pigments shine through. This one has a bit of a shimmer and holographic glitter, so there's just like a lot of different things that you'll end up finding in magnetic polishes. Another sort of magnetic pigment is a holographic magnetic pigment. So in those, you sort of get a linear holographic line centered wherever you chose to apply the magnet, and these ones to me are really unique, and you can honestly get some super fun and crazy designs with polishes like this. There are also some polishes that have multichrome pigments, magnetic pigments, iridescent flakies, and reflective glitter. So that is what we're seeing in this shade, and then this next one has the multichrome magnetic pigment and the reflective glitter, and those are always just so fun. I feel like reflective glitter is such a unique pigment that whenever it's paired with something beautiful like this, it just gets even better. Finally, we have magnetic toppers, and the benefit of those is that you can use any polish you already have and then you put a magnetic topper over it. So this one was with black, this shade here was over a sort of deep reddish maroon color, and it really transforms any cream that you already own into a really beautiful magnetic manicure. So I love that about toppers like this. Now that we have learned all about magnetic nail polish, I want to hear your thoughts on it, so leave a comment down below. Let me know which sort of magnetic shades are your favorite, what is your favorite way to apply magnetic polish, and what are your just general thoughts on it. I personally think that they are a really fun finish and formula to use. It's almost like having multiple polishes in one bottle because you can do them without the magnet, you can do them in a bunch of different ways with the magnet, so it's always like a fun little experience to see what is going to happen with a magnetic manicure. I'm so excited to keep making more videos in this All About series. I have so many planned, but if there's anything you want to see or any ideas you have for a video like this, definitely leave that down in a comment below as well. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video so you can stay up to date on this series and more swatches and fun projects that we have coming up. Also, head to the description for links to my Twitter and my Instagram and some discount links and affiliate codes and, you know, all that good stuff. I do think that's going to be it for this one today, though. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Does someone want to count how many times I have said magnetic in this video? I am terrified.